Here in this video we will take a look at the evolution of the Special Forces and Commandos of the Galactic Empire in Star Wars. So we should first know that the first Special Forces of the Galactic Empire were actually the ones inherited from the Grand Army of the Republic during the Clone Wars, which later evolved into the Galactic Civil War. Clone Troopers were genetically engineered soldiers created on Kamino for the Galactic Republic during the Clone Wars using the DNA of Jango Fett. They were highly trained from birth for combat, for discipline, teamwork and loyalty, which made them far more skilled and coordinated than most normal soldiers. Because they were all clones of the same person, they had similar appearances, voices and physical abilities, though many of them developed unique personalities over time. So the Clone Troopers were the main backbone of the Army of the Republic, and from them, various special forces were derived. So now let's get to the ones that were inherited from the Republic to the Galactic Empire first. So the first ones were the Special Forces that were called the Commandos, the Clone Commandos, which were super skilled clone troopers that were chosen to form a task force for special operations during the Clone Wars. They were all made from the DNA of the bounty hunter Jango Fett by the Kaminoans for the Republic and then later for the Empire as well. Unlike normal clones, they were trained from a young age to handle the toughest and most dangerous missions like sneaking into enemy bases, rescuing prisoners, blowing up targets, and fighting huge groups of battle droids. Some of the famous commando squads included the Delta Squad and Clone Force 99, which were later known as the Bad Batch, whose members each had special genetic abilities. Clone Commandos wore heavy Catan class armor with stronger protection, with helmet displays and built-in gear systems, and they mainly used the DC-17M modular blaster that could switch between assault rifle, sniper and anti-armor modes. Then on a parallel role there were the Clone Guards, which were also known as the Coruscant Guards. These were a special group of elite clone shock troopers that were assigned to protect the capital planet called Coruscant during the Clone Wars, and also to serve the Galactic Empire later on. Led by Clone Commander Fox, these clones acted like military police for the Republic, guarding important buildings, protecting politicians like the Supreme Chancellor Chief Palpatine, and stopping riots as well as escorting prisoners and helping local security forces keep order in the giant city world. They were known for their bright red markings, for tough armor and strict loyalty to the Republic and then later to the Empire. The Coruscant Guards were some of the most feared clone troopers in the galaxy. Even though they were not technically special forces, they did have specialized roles. Then coming out of the Clone Troopers and the Commandos were the Advanced Recon Force Troopers. Usually called the ARF Troopers, they were fast-moving clone scouts of the Grand Army of the Republic, who were trained for reconnaissance, scouting and hit-and-run missions during the Clone Wars. They were created from the DNA of Jango Fett as well, but they wore lighter armor than regular clone troopers so they could move quickly and quietly across the battlefield. The ARF Troopers were experts at riding the AT-RT walkers, like cavalry soldiers riding animals, and they specialized in scouting enemy positions, in ambushing patrols and fast attacks. They commonly used the DC-15A blaster rifle, along with the RPC-2 rocket launchers and their speedy AT-RT vehicles to fight battle droids and explore dangerous terrain. Famous ARF troopers fought under the Jedi like Mace Windu and Obi-Wan Kenobi on worlds like Rylot, Geonosis and Umbara, and just like the others, they would also later on serve the Galactic Empire. And side by side there were also the ARC, or the Advanced Recon Commandos. These were some of the most elite and respected clone soldiers in the Grand Army of the Republic, and they were specially trained from childhood on Kamino or promoted from regular clone ranks after showing great bravery and skill in battle. They were experts in reconnaissance, leadership, infiltration, survival and both arm and hand-to-hand combat, and they were often seen leading normal clone troopers on dangerous missions. The ARC troopers were customized armor with extra gear like pauldrons, camo skirts, jetpacks and survival equipment, which made them stand out from the standard clones. Their weapons also included the dual DC-17 blaster pistols, the DC-15 rifles, sniper rifles, rotary cannons and explosives, which gave them great flexibility to handle almost any combat situation. Famous ARC troopers such as Captain Rex became legendary all over the galaxy. Near the end of the Republic era, we also see the Push Troopers, which were these elite black armored soldiers of the Galactic Empire and previously of the Republic, who served as secretive inquisitorials during the Great Jedi Purge. Unlike regular Stormtroopers, they were specially trained to hunt surviving Jedi after Order 66, and they often work alongside Inquisitors and Darth Vader himself. The first Purge troopers were actually clone veterans from the final clone production lines, but they were later replaced by recruited Stormtroopers. They specialized in anti-Jedi combat, in also photo security, tracking fugitives, and overwhelming enemies with aggressive tactics inspired by Clone Wars veterans. Their black armor had red markings, with reinforced plating and some resistance to lightsaber attacks, while their weapons included DC-15 rifles, E-11 blasters, even electro staves, electro hammers, and stun batons designed for fighting Force users in close combat. Compared to ARF Troopers, Clone Commandos, or ARF Troopers, these Purge troopers were mainly for Jedi hunting, and they were highly specialized in that role. So the Galactic Empire's army later on evolved away from the clone troopers because they were too expensive to produce, and they needed millions of soldiers almost immediately after the formation of the Empire to keep hold on an entire galaxy. The grunts of the Imperial Army were the Army Regulars, which were normal humans recruited or conscripted from planets across the entire galaxy. They usually wore simpler uniforms and lighter armor than Stormtroopers, and they acted as the Empire's massive regular infantry force, occupying worlds, guarding facilities, suppressing uprisings, and supporting the larger Imperial invasions. Then from them came the Stormtroopers, which were actually supposed to be the Empire's elite shock troops. These Stormtroopers received harsher training, stricter indoctrination, and better equipment than the Imperial Army soldiers. They wore the iconic white armor, and they specialized in assault operations, boarding actions, planetary invasions, and enforcing fear across the galaxy. But then, they were not the Special Forces, because from them, others were reassigned to specialized roles. Let's get to them. So the first of the Special Forces of the recruited Stormtroopers were the Storm Commandos, or also known as the Shadow Scout Troopers. They were supposedly the elite Special Forces soldiers of the Galactic Empire. Unlike regular Stormtroopers, they wore sleek black armor designed for stealth and intimidation, which made them hard to spot during night missions or surprise attacks. Some even served the 501st Legion, the personal legion of Darth Vader. Storm Commandos specialized in stealth operations, ambushes, scouting, sabotage, and fighting in harsh environments like forests or enemy territories that are very harsh and very inhospitable to outside invaders. They commonly carried the E-11 blaster rifles, but they could also use thermal detonators, hold-out blasters, explosives, and even the 74Z speeder bikes, depending on the mission. At least some of the Storm Commandos were present for the Galactic Civil War's Battle of Endor, which they proved to be of some use, well, more use than the regular Stormtroopers. Aside from them, there were also the Imperial Special Forces Troopers, which were another group of elite commandos of the Galactic Empire that were trained for dangerous covert missions like infiltration, sabotage, intelligence gathering, extractions, and assassinations. They often worked for the Imperial Navy, the Imperial Security Bureau as well, and other secret Imperial divisions. Their black Special Forces armor, advanced weapons, and intense training made them some of the Empire's most effective covert soldiers. The most famous of them all were the Inferno Squad, a 4-member commando team led by Iden Versio during the Galactic Civil War. The Inferno Squad specialized in stealth infiltrations, undercover missions, assassinations, and destroying rebel operations from within. Its members included Del Meeko, Gideon Haas, and Saint Marana, who were trained so heavily that each of them could fight like an entire squad of regular soldiers on their own. Yet another special operations forces were the Scar Troopers, which were in full known as the Special Commando Advanced Recon Troopers. They were the elite special forces of the Galactic Empire trained for the Empire's most dangerous and most secretive missions. Unlike the regular Stormtroopers, they worked in small independent squads with a high level of freedom, and they often took orders directly from powerful leaders like Darth Vader. They specialized in advanced combat tactics like infiltration, sabotage, heavy weapon support, tracking, explosives, and stealth operations. The most famous Scar unit was Task Force 99, led by Sergeant Creel, and was made up of unique specialists like Aero, Carv, Mike, Misty, Shrap, and Zook, with each member having a different combat role and a fighting style. Their armor was heavily customized with parts from Clone Commandos, Death Troopers, and even pilot gears, while their weapons ranged from blaster rifles and grenade launchers to sniper weapons and heavy explosives. Because of their skill, independence, and deadly teamwork, these were considered one of the most elite forces. But one of the most feared ones are the Death Troopers, which were infamous not just for their name but also for their roles and capabilities. These were elite black armored special forces soldiers of the Galactic Empire who specialized in stealth, intelligence work and also assassinations. Unlike regular Stormtroopers, these Death Troopers operate as a highly trained commando unit and also bodyguards for powerful Imperial leaders like Orson Krennic, Grand Admiral Thrawn and members of the Tarkin Initiative. Their dark armor included advanced helmets with voice scramblers, motion sensors, tactical displays and enhanced targeting systems. The Death Troopers were experts in stealth tactics, heavy weapons, demolitions, close combat, guerrilla warfare and sharpshooting, and they were trained to leave very little evidence after missions. Compared to the others here, Death Troopers were focused more on espionage, high-level protection, and black operations warfare. One of the final formations of special forces in the Galactic Empire were the Elite Stormtroopers, which were a secret special forces unit created by Darth Vader himself after the destruction of the first Death Star during the Civil War. Unlike normal Stormtroopers, these soldiers operated completely off the official records of the Galactic Empire, and they serve as Vader's personal enforcers during his private campaign for revenge against traitors, spies, and anyone responsible for Imperial failures. The unit was made up of only 6 highly trained troopers who specialized in brutal raids, assassinations, close quarters combat, intimidation, and covert strike missions. They accompanied Vader on dangerous operations across worlds like Bothawi and Kuat, carrying out executions, home invasions, sabotage, and deadly cleanup missions, which all of them were off the records of the Galactic Empire. Now another highly trained and specialized group of soldiers are the Emperor's Royal Guard, which were also known as the Crimson Guard. These were the personal bodyguards of Emperor Chief Palpatine and amongst the most feared warriors in the Galactic Empire. Originating as the Red Guard during the final years of the Galactic Republic, they slowly replaced the old Senate Guards during the Clone Wars before becoming the Emperor's personal protectors after Palpatine transformed the Republic into the Empire. Only the strongest, smartest and most loyal soldiers in the entire Imperial military could become the Royal Guards. They were clad in iconic crimson robes and armor, and the guards were trained in advanced melee combat, in martial arts, heavy weapons and close protection so that they could defend Palpatine against multiple Jedi attackers. Then the direct evolution of the Royal Guard are the Praetorian Guard of Supreme Leader Snoke. These were elite crimson armored warriors who served the surviving factions of the Galactic Empire. They evolved from the old Emperor's Royal Guard, and they acted as personal protectors for power leaders like Supreme Leader Snoke and important Imperial warlords like Moff Gideon. These Praetorian Guards focused almost entirely on deadly close quarters combat and martial arts, mastering fighting styles like Terraskasi and the Ashani techniques. Their red armor was enhanced with mag coils that could deflect blaster shots, and they carried advanced melee weapons such as vibroblades, electro weapons and double-ended polearms, which were designed to fight Jedi-level opponents, and this they did during Rey and Kylo Ren's fight in the Mega-class Star Dreadnought. And finally we come to the Dark Troopers. These were the experimental super soldiers created by the Galactic Empire as part of the secret Dark Troopers program, which aimed to build the ultimate armored warriors. Early versions were powerful combat suits worn by human pilots, but Imperial scientists eventually decided that removing the human pilot would make the soldiers even deadlier and more efficient. This led to the creation of the terrifying Phase 3 Dark Troopers, which were fully robotic battle droids used by Moff Gideon during the New Republic era. Their black armored bodies were resistant to heavy attacks, and they were equipped with built-in jet boosters for flight, and were strong enough to smash through blast doors and overpower most enemies, including the Mandalorian, in hand-to-hand combat. Even though they were the Empire's most advanced weapons and special forces in a way, an entire platoon of them was ultimately destroyed by Luke Skywalker aboard Gideon's cruiser. And so from the Clone Commandos, which originated from the Republic era, to the Dark Troopers, which have their final Phase 3 versions in the New Republic era, this is the evolution of the Special Forces and Commandos of the Empire in Star Wars. Now with that we come to the end of the video. Do hit the like button for support and also click that bell button for regular updates on new video uploads. Also subscribe to be a part of Legio Notebook, and till the next time,
take care, boys.